Greetings everyone. Welcome to the second lecture for the course IE306 Supply Chain and Logistics Management. I am Matthew Baby, Assistant Professor with the Department of Mechanical Engineering at Rajagiri School of Engineering and Technology. Now, in this lecture, we would deal with the major objectives of supply chains, and we'll introduce certain terms that can be used to measure or indicate the level of success of a supply chain, and we'll also see what supply chain management is. We'll have an introduction to supply chain management. Now, in the last lecture, when we discuss the basic structure and stages of a supply chain, we define supply chain as a series of entities or a group of entities that are directly or indirectly involved in satisfying a customer request. So, one of the objectives of a supply chain is to meet a consumer request. And in meeting a consumer request, the various entities or various elements of a supply chain, they are trying to carry out an exchange and generate profits or generate value. So the fundamental objective of a supply chain is to maximize the overall value generated. And the value generated in a supply chain, we call it or we term it as supply chain surplus. Now, the supply chain surplus is a quantity that can be quantified. It's a value that can be quantified, and it is quantified as the difference between the value of the final product to the consumer or the customer who is placing the order, okay, minus the cost incurred by the supply chain in meeting that particular consumer's or customer's request. So the supply chain surplus is nothing but the value of the final product. Now the term value of the final product, okay, is nothing but it is an indication of the amount that the customer is willing to pay for a particular product. Okay, when you subtract from that the cost incurred by all the stages or all the elements or entities in the supply chain in meeting that consumer's request, when you subtract that value, the sum of the costs incurred by the entities in the supply chain, when you subtract the sum total of that particular cost value from the value of the final product, which is nothing but the amount the customer is willing to pay for a particular product, we get the term called, or we get the value called supply chain surplus. Now, the value of the final product to the consumer, it is basically subjective, and it is very difficult to determine this particular value. Okay, it changes from person to person. That is a value that a particular product has to a particular customer. It changes from person to person, and it depends upon various factors like the functionality of the product, okay, the convenience of purchase, availability, etc. For example, a person who is basically an IT professional, or say rather specifically a graphics professional, he would find the use of a graphics card very essential, okay, for his daily works. If he's using a laptop or a desktop for all his work, for him a graphics card or a graphics processor is basically an essential requirement. For him that functionality is there. But for a novice or a person who's just involved in casual office work computations, okay, like working on spreadsheets, for him graphics processing is not of high importance. So the functionality of a particular product, it changes from person to person. Okay, so that is why I tell you value is subjective. A person who is a graphics professional values a laptop with an inbuilt dedicated graphics processor, whereas a person who's using his laptop for office work like using Excel, PowerPoint, etc., for him a laptop having a dedicated graphics processor does not essentially have any functionality, or it doesn't add to functionality, but rather it only adds the cost. Okay, so that is why I told you value is subjective. It differs from person to person, and it is based upon or depends upon factors like functionality of the product, the convenience of purchase, how far does a particular person has to travel to make a purchase. So convenience, ease of access to a particular product, that is also very important. And availability, whether the product will be available at the time a customer intends to purchase a particular product. Okay, that is also very, very important. So it's based upon these factors like functionality, convenience of purchase, availability, etc., that you determine the value, and it is subjective. It depends upon a person, and value also changes with situation. I'll give an example as to how value will change with the situation. Take for example a person who's traveling by car. Okay, he's traveling in an air conditioned car. Now on the way, in case he feels thirsty, for situations like that, he basically buys and stores a bottle of water at rupees 20. The same situation, but this time the person is basically in walking at the midday time where the sun is so bright and it's so hot. Okay, he's walked for kilometers. He is basically a person who will experience thirst more than the person who travels by an air conditioned car, right? For him, that particular bottle of water at rupees 20, okay, he finds that particular bottle of water, like 1 liter of bottle of water at rupees 20, to be more valuable to him than the person who is traveling by an air conditioned car. So based upon the situation change, the value of a particular product is also a value of the particular product also changes. Okay, a person who's walking might um, might find that paying rupees 30 for that liter of water is not a problem, but for a person who does not find that level of functionality, okay, will be willing to pay only less for that particular product. Clear? So the value is basically something that is subjective and changes with situation. So since the value is very difficult to determine, the supply chain surplus is also a quantity that is difficult to determine, because value changes from person to person. It is subjective in nature. Now, a part of the supply chain surplus is what we call as consumer surplus. Now, consumer surplus is a portion of the supply chain surplus that remains with the consumer, and it is computed or calculated as the difference between the value of the product to the consumer minus the price. Okay, difference between the value of the product to the consumer and the price. Now, the price is basically the amount that the consumer pays to purchase the product or procure the product, whereas the value of the product is nothing but, as I told you earlier, the amount the customer is willing to pay. Okay, so say for example, a particular person is willing to pay, he values a particular product is rupees 200, but the price of the product is only rupees 150. The company or the supply chain, at the end of the supply chain, the retailer only asks for rupees 150. For him, he values the product at rupees 200, but he has to only pay rupees 150. So the price is 150 and the value of the product for that particular customer is 200. So the rupees 50 that he would have paid for that particular product, the extra rupees 50 that you would not have minded paying for that particular product, is what remains with the customer as what we call as customer surplus. Okay, so this is basically a part of the supply chain surplus. So a supply chain surplus, a part of the supply chain surplus that remains with the customer is what we call as a value of the particular, we call it as a consumer surplus. Now, higher the consumer surplus, the more attractive the product or service is to a particular consumer. Okay, consumers generally make a purchase only when the consumer surplus is generally positive. That means the value should be at least equal to the price or greater than the price. So consumer surplus, when the higher the consumer surplus value, the more attractive a product seems to a particular consumer, and that can only be done by keeping the price as low as possible. Okay, value is something that cannot be controlled. It is something that is subjective in nature and changes with situation. So creating more value is difficult. Controlling value is difficult because it is individual dependent. Whereas a supply chain can reduce the price to as minimum as possible so that the consumer surplus is high, and higher the consumer surplus, more a consumer is attracted towards a particular product, and the more chance that he buys actually makes a purchase. Okay, so similar to supply chain surplus, consumer surplus is also quite difficult to determine, because here also we have a very difficult value to compute. Okay, we have a very difficult quantity to compute to calculate customer surplus called as value of the product. Now this is much more easily determined in certain cases where we have the case of branded versus generic drugs. Okay, pharmaceutical drugs or medicines that you buy. In the case of branded, there are certain companies like Cipla, okay, Ranbaxy, etc., that manufacture certain medicines which are common medicines, say similar to a paracetamol. They are branded, they are made by branded companies, and the branded companies charge a particular value. The same medicine, okay, for the same say disease, may be available as a generic drug which is not manufactured by a branded company but still works the same. So this generic drug may be offered at a lower price. So there the value of the particular product is much more easily determined. Okay, it's obvious that the generic drug will offer much more value than the branded drug because it is generally offered at a it has the same effect. That means the functionality of the drug remains the same because it's essentially the same constitution of the composition, but what differs is the price. Okay. Now the third term that we are going to discuss is a term called supply chain profitability. Okay. Supply chain profitability is nothing but the remainder of the supply chain surplus after reducing or deducting the consumer or the customer surplus. Okay, so this is what is actually retained in the entire supply chain network as the entire supply chain profitability. We are not talking about the manufacturer profitability, but in procuring raw materials, transforming it and delivering it to the consumer, the entire supply chain as a whole, the supply network as a whole, earns a certain profit, and this profit is called as supply chain profitability, which is computed or calculated as the supply chain surplus minus the consumer surplus. An alternative way to define supply chain surplus is this: it's nothing but the revenue generated from the consumer, that is the price a consumer pays for a particular product, minus the overall cost across the entire supply chain. Okay, so at different stages of the supply chain there will be costs incurred. So all these costs are summed up, and that is called as the overall cost across supply chain. Now, as I told you earlier in the previous slide, the importance of the term consumer surplus is very important. Okay, only when a consumer surplus value or a customer surplus value is positive, or at least zero or positive. Okay, it cannot be negative. In a negative situation, a consumer never makes a purchase. That is a general rule. Okay, so a consumer makes a purchase only when the consumer or the customer surplus is zero or positive. At least the price should match the value. Okay, so consumer only makes a purchase when the price is less than or equal to the value given by the consumer to a particular product. To understand these three terms, that is the supply chain surplus, the consumer surplus, and the supply chain profitability, I have given an example over here. Take an item which is priced by at the end of the supply chain at rupees 100, which is bought by a consumer who values it at rupees 110. So here clearly the value is greater than the price. Okay, so in that case the consumer makes a purchase. and let the overall supply chain cost of the item be rupees 80. So at the end of the supply chain, when it comes to the retailer, the consumer is buying the product from the retailer. Okay. At the end of the retailer, the total cost involved in getting the product from the manufacturer, okay, procuring raw materials, processing it, distributing it to the distributor, then sending it to the retailer. At the end of that particular supply chain at the retailer, it costs rupees 80 in all those activities. So that is the overall supply chain cost of rupees 80. The supply chain surplus is simply calculated as value minus the cost. So the customer values it at rupees 110 and the cost of the item is rupees 80. Okay, the supply chain cost is rupees 80. So you have rupees 30 remaining. The entire supply chain surplus is not the actual profit created by the supply chain, because a part of the supply chain surplus goes to the consumer as customer or consumer surplus, right? So to calculate consumer surplus, what you do is you subtract the value of the price from, sorry, the price from the value. Okay, so the price is 100 and the value that the consumer gives to the particular product is 110. So rupees 10 remains with the consumer as consumer surplus. Okay, it is a difference between supply chain surplus and the consumer surplus that is actually the supply chain profitability. So the supply chain profitability can be calculated in two ways. The first way is to take the difference between the supply chain surplus and customer surplus. So supply chain surplus minus consumer surplus is rupees 30 minus 10, which is rupees 20. Okay, another way of calculating this is nothing but subtracting the overall cost of supply chain from the revenue generated. That is nothing but price minus cost. So it's rupees 100 minus 80, that is also rupees 20. Okay, so the supply chain surplus, a part of it remains with the consumer and is called as customer surplus, and the remaining is what comes as supply chain profitability. So I hope these three terms are clear. So the basic objective, you can say objectives of supply chains are primarily to maximize the value, overall value, okay, and that value can be indicated by using two terms, supply chain profitability or supply chain surplus. Okay, better the value, higher will be the the value generated by the supply chain, higher will be the quantified values of supply chain profitability or supply chain surplus. So these two are terms that are indicative of success of a supply chain. So as I told you, supply chain profitability is not the profit generated at an individual stage of a supply chain. Okay, we are not talking about the profit generated by the retailer. If a retailer sells a product for rupees 80, okay, and he prices at rupees 100, now the rupees 20 that is generated, okay, it is a entire supply chain profitability. That rupees 20 is divided on different stages of that particular supply chain. Okay, so the supply chain profitability is shared across all supply chain stages and intermediaries, and this can be used as a clear indicator of supply chain success. Higher the supply chain profitability, higher will be the supply chain success, or better will be the supply chain success. So supply chain profitability or supply chain surplus, any of these terms can be used as a clear indicator of supply chain success. Okay, but keep in mind that individual stage profits cannot be used as an indicator of supply chain success. For example, if the distributor makes a large profit, but the remainder of the supply chain, that means the manufacturer or the retailer, makes very small quantities or it does not make any profit, okay, it is not an indicator that the entire supply chain is a success. So individual stage profits cannot be used as an indicator of supply chain success, but rather you can use the supply chain profitability, which is nothing but the shared profit across all the stages and intermediaries in the supply chain network. That is a clear indication of supply chain success. Okay, now in the entire supply chain, the only source of revenue or positive cash flow is in the supply chain is the customer. Okay, when you take the supply chain network, you can see the different stages: the suppliers, the manufacturers, the distributors, wholesalers or warehouses, then you have the retailers and the consumer. The only source of revenue in this entire supply chain, or only source of positive cash flow in the entire supply chain, is the consumer. Consumer is the one actually making the purchase and putting in the cash. Okay, all other cash transactions or cash flows in the entire supply chain networks are a network is nothing but fund exchanges within the supply chain. Okay, they are nothing but transferring or exchanging the fund or the amount put in by the consumer and dividing it among the different stages. That's all. So the only source of positive cash flow in the supply chain is a consumer, and all other cash flows are nothing but fund exchanges or fund transfers within the supply chain network, where different stages have different owners. The manufacturer is one company, the distributor is another company owned by another person. Okay, then the retailer might be another company owned by another set of people. So all these different stages might have different owners. So each stage will receive a certain cut from the revenue or the cash being paid by the consumer. Clear? So all the flows in the supply chain cost money. Okay, so we have three types of flows in supply chains. We have product flow, information flow, and cash flows. To carry out any of these flows, there is a certain amount of cost involved, right? To transport product from manufacturer to wholesaler, wholesaler to retailer, retailer to consumer. Okay, if the retailer is involved in home delivery, that's also costing the retailer. Okay, so all the flows in the supply chain will cost money. So the product flow will cost money in transportation. Similarly, information flow will also cost money, right? If you are running an online website or online shopping site, transfer of information through a website, setting up a website, maintaining the servers, okay, having a dedicated team to update the website, that will all cost you money. So information flow also costs money. At the same time, money flow or cash flow also costs money. Okay, you are using an intermediary like a bank. So a certain part of the transaction, the amount that is being transacted is basically costing money. It's called as a transaction charge by the banking partner, right? Say if you pay a bill, say an electricity bill of rupees 2000 or above, certain banks will charge you certain transaction charges for any amounts transacted above a particular value, right? So money exchange or fund flow also involves certain amount of cost. So any kind of flow in a supply chain, whether it be product, information, or money flow, it will cost that supply chain. And it is important that the supply chain is designed in such a fashion to minimize these costs. And minimization of these costs will help the supply chain to price the product at the lowest value possible. Okay, lower the price, higher will be the consumer surplus, and higher the consumer surplus, more excited or more attractiveness for the particular product to the consumer. Okay, so supply chain profitability or surplus or supply chain success is impacted by the supply chain decisions. Okay, the decisions that you take in supply chains, that impacts the supply chain profitability value or surplus value or the level of supply chain success. And some of the common supply chain decisions that you take are supply chain design, planning and its operations, and adaptation to changing needs, adapting these supply chains to changing consumer needs. Okay, now if you don't design a supply chains properly, then the supply chain profitability be affected. Okay, if you don't run or operate a supply chains in the correct fashion, your supply chain profitability and supply chain success will be affected. And if you are not involved in constantly adapting your supply chain to meet the changing needs of the consumer, there also your supply chain profitability will be impacted. Okay, so supply chain decisions like design, planning, operations and adaptation to changing needs will also affect your supply chain profitability, surplus or success. Now we'll see how major supply chain decisions like design and adaptation affects the supply chain profitability, supply chain success using certain examples. Okay, take the case of why design of supply chains is very important. Okay, So in the case of fast moving consumer goods supply chain design, that is FMCGs, means fast moving consumer goods like soaps, toothpaste, etc., which are sold in bulk volumes. Okay, so in such a case, you can take the case of retailers in the US and India. Okay, the supply chain network, that is, or supply chain network design, is completely different in the US and in India, because in the US the retailers generally are large. Okay, they are big companies. Okay, and they generally adopt a buying practice. They buy directly from the manufacturer, so the stage called distributor or the wholesaler is completely avoided. Okay, they are large companies, they can afford to buy and keep large amounts of stock or inventory, whereas in India this is not the case. Okay, so in India the retailers are generally small scale. They are smaller retailers, and these smaller retailers cannot keep large amounts of inventory because they do not have the capital to maintain large inventories, and hence have to place orders frequently. So if we place frequently an order from a manufacturer which is located far away, the transportation cost in transporting that particular item, small quantity item, say you are ordering for 2 or 3 items, okay, every week. So every time you order, there's an ordering cost associated with it, and at the same time, there is a transportation cost. So when you transport 1 or 2 items, it is much more costly than transporting, say, 100 items together. Okay, so that is why in when you have a situation where the retailers are generally small, okay, and places order much more frequently in smaller quantities, it is much more efficient for the supply chain to have a distributor stage, where a distributor basically aggregates and stores large quantities of the product at a location that is nearby the retailers. Okay, so therefore the transportation cost can be kept to a minimum, and thus the overall supply chain cost can be kept to a minimum. Okay, so keeping the overall supply chain cost to a minimum means the chance of supply chain profitability, supply chain surplus will be the value of supply chain surplus or supply chain profitability will be generally high. So for the same kind of goods, that is for fast moving consumer goods, the supply chain design, okay, it is very important according to the situation. In the US, the retailers directly buy from the manufacturer, the distributor stage is completely avoided, whereas in India that is not the case. But as India grows, the situation is changing. Okay, we have larger retailers like Reliance, okay, groups, the Reliance group coming in. So these larger retailers will gradually change this particular network structure. So even fast moving consumer good supply chain design, the network design, it will evolve with time. And in, say, I probably guess in another 30 or 35 years, the distributor element or the distributor stage will be completely irrelevant in India as well. Once this particular, say, retail market basically, or retail business starts to consolidate. Okay, so some of the case studies of why supply chain design is important are given in the textbook that I talked about in the introductory lecture. Okay, so proper design and planning and operations of supply chains have helped companies like Walmart in the US and 7-Eleven in Japan grow and succeed. Whereas you can see certain examples of poor design or ineffective management of supply chain resulting in failures of companies like Webvan in the US. Okay, which is nothing but an online grocery store with home delivery. Okay, they managed to their design of the entire supply chain and ineffective management of the supply chain resulted in their failure. This particular company shut shop in, if my memory serves me right, around 3 years. From its time of inception, it took only 3 years for this particular supply chain, this particular company to shut shop, were completely closed down. Okay, that is basically due to poor design and ineffective management of the supply chain. So you can read these case studies in detail from the textbook. Okay, now we'll see why adaptation of supply chains to changing needs is also important. Okay, now there are certain companies like Border. You can see certain two case studies mentioned over here. One is a case where Dell adapted their supply chains and is succeeding. Whereas there are certain companies like Borders, which is nothing but a book and music store chain. Okay, it's a book and music store chain which failed to take their initial success forward. Initially, they had success because the supply chain met the demands of the consumer at that point of time, but they failed to adapt their supply chain to uh, adapt to the changing needs as well as the changing competition. Okay, so with changing times, they had to compete against e-commerce giants like Amazon, which sold these books and music stores online, or sorry, music online at a lower cost. Because these giants could store them in bulk quantities, they could offer these items, books and music. Okay, a large collection of books and music in very large quantities. So this particular company called Borders in the US, they could not adapt. They did not adapt to this particular change in the competition or change in demand, and thus they had to shut shop. Whereas Dell, they could adapt and they could succeed. So again, these case studies can be read in the textbook. So Dell initially had a supply chain that had helped them to meet demand of the consumers for customization in products, because initially the hardwares were so varied, okay, and they were so pricey that it was not possible for every person to get a good configuration. So Dell initially set up a supply chain to help meet the demands of consumers for customization products. Okay, so made to order only, that was their initial supply chain. But with changing time, where the hardware become much more capable or much more faster at lower cost, the need for customization became lower and lower. Okay, so with lower demands for customization, they had to adapt their supply chain, okay, so that they make items and store them. So made to order, instead of made to order, also they also started planning for made to stock. Okay, so with the current condition of lower levels of customization required, the Dell adapted their supply chain and is succeeding because now they have a supply chain they can meet both made to order, okay, and made to stock or retail units. So adaptation is also very important. We can clearly see examples of companies adapting and succeeding, and some companies not adapting to the changing needs and failing. Okay, so you can go through these case studies in the textbook. Now we'll move on to the last topic for this lecture, that is supply chain management. We'll give an introduction. I'll give an introduction as to what supply chain management is. Okay, so supply chain management or effective supply chain management is basically an activity that involves management of supply chain assets, products, information and fund flows. Okay, so as to keep the overall supply chain cost low and to maximize supply chain surplus. So in order for a supply chain to be successful, we have to maximize the supply chain surplus or profitability, and that can be done only by keeping the overall supply chain cost as low as possible. Okay, and in order for you to keep the overall supply chain cost low, the best way of doing it is by effectively managing the supply chain assets, the product and the information and fund flows in the entire supply chain network. So supply chain management involves management of supply chain assets, products, information and fund flows to keep overall supply chain cost so as to maximize supply chain surplus. Now supply chain management has evolved. When you take the historical background, it has evolved. The concept of supply chain management has evolved from three basic streams of knowledge. Okay, some streams of knowledge are managerial and some are practical. They have evolved from practical experiences. So it's nothing but a combination of three streams of knowledge that make up supply chain management. The supply chain management that we see today is basically a combination of three fundamental streams of knowledge. They are sourcing, procurement and supply management, logistics and distribution, and materials management. Okay, now you know that when you analyze the supply chain, the two major uh, costs that add to the entire overall supply chain costs are material costs and logistics and distribution costs, right? So if you want to make a particular product, out of the entire product's cost at the retailer end, the major chunk of the cost of the product is made from the material cost as well as the cost involved in transporting it. That is why uh, supply chain management gives very high importance to keeping the material cost as low as possible and keeping the cost involved in managing the flow or transportation of these items as low as possible. So in keeping the material cost down, one of the major ways is by sourcing or procuring a particular raw material or subcomponent at the lowest possible price during purchase. Okay. Now this is much more easier than getting more revenue by pushing your products, right? One of the ways of increasing supply chain surplus is to gain, or supply chain profitability is to gain more revenue. Okay, for more revenue you have to push products to the consumers through marketing activities. That is difficult to attain. Okay, it's very difficult to convince consumers about a particular product's value to them. But rather, if we can keep our cost down, okay, overall cost down, we can create much more higher values of customer surplus, thereby attracting that particular consumer to your particular product. So keeping the cost down is the best way of earning more supply chain surplus, and that can be done in one way by buying your raw materials and components from suppliers. The manufacturer, when they buy these components, they should be bought at the lowest possible price. Okay, so sourcing, procurement and supply management is involved in attaining better or lowest possible prices during purchase, and this is much more easier than selling larger quantities by convincing consumers. So this ensures lower spending on materials and components. So as I told you, one of the two major contributors towards the overall cost of supply chain are materials costs and logistics or transportation distribution costs, right? So the sourcing, procurement and supply management basically is involved in activities which will help you to buy your your raw material, product's raw material or its subcomponents at the lowest possible price during purchase. Okay, the second part of supply chain management, second stream of knowledge that contributes towards supply chain management is logistics and distribution. And logistics and distribution is involved in managing flow or storage of products, services, information, etc. So managing the flow, that is the transportation, as well as temporary storage of products, services and information is done by logistics and distribution. And the last part, or the last stream of knowledge contributing towards supply chain management, is materials management. Now materials management is a third component or the third contributing area, and as I told you, in the Indian scenario, the major approximately 60% of the cost of products, okay, that is manufactured can be attributed towards materials, and proper management of materials or proper planning of materials management or materials will help you to reduce the overall cost, keeping your overall supply chain cost low. Okay, so materials management is involved in forecasting, okay, forecasting demand, what will be the demand of a particular product in the future. So you're making predictions about future demands. Okay, so they are involved in forecasting, they're involved in inventory and stores management, etc., so as to keep the inventory cost at the lowest possible levels. So these are the three major streams that contributed towards supply chain management. So logistics and distribution, okay, then we have materials management, and then we have purchase management. Okay, so there are certain advancements in materials management where we see materials management, when we add certain aspects of production planning and control to this particular materials management stream becomes what they call as extended materials management. And when certain order processing aspects are also added to this, this particular stream becomes what we call as integrated materials management. Okay, so I hope this will give you an introduction as to what supply chain management is all about. Okay, it's basically a combination of three fundamental streams of knowledge and involves effective management of supply chain resources. Okay, its assets, the product information and cash flow, so as to keep the overall supply chain cost to a minimum and maximize the supply chain surplus. Okay, so thank you.